I'm 74 years old now, and there's something I need to say out loud, because silence almost cost me everything. For most of my life, I believed I was being patient. I thought patience was a virtue. I thought waiting was wisdom. I thought delaying decisions meant I was being responsible. But looking back, I can finally admit the truth. Most of the time, I wasn't being patient. I was being afraid. Afraid of making the wrong choice. Afraid of disappointing people. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of slowing down. Afraid of listening to what my heart already knew. So I waited. I waited for the right moment. I waited for more certainty. I waited for approval. I waited for life to feel safer. And while I was waiting, life was moving on without me. No one tells you this when you're young, but waiting can quietly become a lifestyle. You don't wake up one day and decide to put your life on hold. It happens slowly, almost invisibly. You postpone a conversation, then another. You delay a dream, then years pass. You tell yourself you'll change someday, and someday never arrives. I remember telling myself over and over, now is not the time. Not the time to change careers. Not the time to fix that relationship. Not the time to slow down. Not the time to ask deeper questions about life, faith, and purpose. There was always a reason. Bills, responsibilities, expectations, fear disguised as logic. From the outside, my life looked fine, stable, predictable, respectable. But inside, something was slowly fading. A sense of meaning, a sense of presence, a sense of being truly alive. I stayed busy because busyness felt productive. I stayed distracted because distraction kept me from feeling uncomfortable truths. I stayed in motion because stopping meant listening, and listening was dangerous because deep down, I already knew what needed to change. When I reached my late 50s, something strange began to happen. The years started moving faster, not metaphorically, literally. Months felt like weeks. Weeks felt like days. And suddenly, entire years disappeared. I would look back and think, how did another year pass so quickly? But I didn't change anything. I just noticed time slipping away. That's when the quiet panic began. Not panic like fear. Panic like awareness. The kind that whispers to you at night. The kind that shows up when the room is quiet. The kind you ignore during the day, but feel deeply when you're alone. I realized I had spent decades preparing for a future I might never fully live. I was always planning, always organizing, always postponing joy until everything was perfect. But perfection never came. Life remained messy, complicated, unpredictable, and I kept waiting anyway. One of my greatest regrets is not the mistakes I made. It's the decisions I never made at all. The phone calls I didn't make. The trips I didn't take. The apologies I didn't offer. The words I didn't say. The risks I didn't take because I was afraid of losing comfort. Comfort is seductive. It tells you that staying where you are is safer than moving forward. It tells you that discomfort is dangerous. It convinces you that tomorrow will be easier than today. But comfort has a cost, and the cost is time. I've watched people around me reach the end of their lives with the same realization. Not regret over failure, regret over delay. They didn't wish they had worked more. They wished they had lived more honestly. They wished they had been braver, kinder, more present. They wished they had listened sooner. Looking back now, I don't believe God was silent during those years. I believe I was too busy negotiating with myself to listen. Faith, for me, didn't arrive in a dramatic moment. It arrived quietly, in the form of questions I kept avoiding. Questions like, why am I rushing through my days? Who am I doing this for? What am I afraid of losing? And what am I already losing by waiting? The older I get, the more I understand that clarity rarely comes before action. It comes after. We tell ourselves we need certainty before we change. But certainty often follows courage, not the other way around. Waiting didn't protect me. It delayed my growth. It delayed my peace. It delayed my joy. If I could speak to my younger self, I wouldn't tell him to work harder. I wouldn't tell him to aim higher. I wouldn't tell him to be more successful. I would tell him to stop waiting. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect timing. Stop waiting for life to slow down. I would tell him that fear doesn't disappear when you wait. It grows. I would tell him that life doesn't reward hesitation. It responds to intention. I am 74 now, and I finally understand something that took me far too long to learn. The most dangerous phrase in the human language is not, I failed. It's, I'll do it later. Later is where dreams go to sleep. Later is where relationships fade. Later is where life quietly passes by. Time is not waiting for you to feel ready. It's moving forward, with or without your participation. And here's the truth I hope you hear today. You don't need a new year. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need approval. You need honesty. You need courage. You need to stop negotiating with fear. Before the last day comes, choose action over delay. Choose presence over distraction. Choose meaning over comfort. Start the conversation. Take the step. Make the call. Change the direction. Not someday. Not soon. Now. Because waiting almost cost me my life. And I don't want it to cost you yours.